Hello and a very warm welcome to the Question Hour show from the Parliament House complex, where we bring you important unstart questions that were asked by the members of the upper house during the 249 session of the Rajya Sabha and the response given by the government. I'm Kriti Mishra, and joining me is my colleague Akhilesh Suman. So Akhilesh, let's take our viewers through important questions and answers in this edition of Question Hour. And the first question in this edition of Question Hour is from member Anil Desai, and this one pertains to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. And Mr. Desai has asked whether there's any central law in the country banning the Ponzi schemes throughout the country.
Yes, it is very important question, Kriti, and the way Ponzi schemes had indulged into various scams. That is why the question comes, and the answer is very important. Answer is Ministry of Finance, Department of Financial Services has informed the banning of unregulated deposit schemes ordinance 2019 was promulgated by Honorable President on 21/2/2019, and it came into effect on the same day. The ordinance was promulgated to protect poor and gullible people of being duped by illicit deposit schemes launched by rapacious operators by altogether banning unregulated deposit taking schemes. And it also has adequate provisions for punishment and disgorgement, that is repayment of deposits in cases where such schemes nonetheless manage to raise deposits illegally. Further, the Price Cheats and Money Circulation Schemes Act 1978 is an act to ban the promotion or conduct of price cheats and money circulation schemes. So, there are so many allurements. Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority organizes investor awareness programs in the rural areas through common service centers set up under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology with the objective of creating awareness among the investor about fraudulent schemes and facilitating informed investment decisions. The IAPs cover various topics such as importance of savings, basics of capital market, do's and don'ts of investment, etc., including one module on basic information about Ponzi schemes and how not to fall prey to such schemes. In addition to this, the authority also carries out investor awareness and education through electronic media. The CSC has conducted 26,409 programs for the IEPF authority since beginning of financial year 2018-19, and at present, no specific campaign is under consideration in respect of Ponzi schemes. Ministry of Corporate Affairs also organizes investor awareness programs in partnership with three professional institutes, namely Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, that is ICAI, Institute of Company Secretaries of India, that is ICSI, and Institute of Cost Accountants of India, that is ICOAI, with the objective of creating awareness amongst the investors about fraudulent schemes and facilitating informed investment decisions. So, this was very detailed answer, Kriti, and the next question also pertains to Corporate Affairs Ministry, and the question is asked by the MP A. Vijay Kumar, and the question is the number of shell companies delisted during the last 3 years and the details of those. What is the answer?
Well, in the response, the government says that listed companies are regulated or governed by SEBI or the stock exchanges, and their listing or delisting processes are carried out by the stock exchanges. The government further says the term shell companies is not defined in the Companies Act 2013. It normally refers to a company without active business operation or significant assets, which in some cases are used for illegal purposes such as tax evasion, money laundering, obscuring ownership, benami properties, etc. The Special Task Force, which was set up to look into the issues of shell companies, has recommended the use of red flag indicators as alerts for identification and strike-off of shell companies. The government has undertaken special drive for identification and strike-off of such unlisted companies under Section 248(1) of the Companies Act 2013, read with companies, removal of names of companies from the Registrar of Companies Rules 2016, amended Rules 2019, which had not filed their financial statements or annual returns for a continuous period of 2 immediate preceding financial years. The Companies Act does not distinguish the companies for striking off as holding or a subsidiary company. During the financial year 2017-18, the registrars of companies have removed the name of 2,26,166 companies and 1,12,797 companies respectively from the Registrar of Companies by following the due process of law. Let's move on to the next question, and this one has been asked by member T.K. Rangarajan, which pertains to the Ministry of Communications. And Mr. Rangarajan has asked about the details of the telecom companies that have gone into insolvency proceedings recently.
There are 3 points in the answer, Kriti, and the first point pertains to MS Airtel group of companies, MS Reliance Communication group of companies, and Videocon group of companies that are under corporate insolvency resolution process under Insolvency Bankruptcy Code 2016. And the second part of answer, Kriti, is pertaining to Videocon ASL. It says no spectrum is held by Videocon. In respect of ASL, the companies have filed miscellaneous applications 336 and 337 of 2018 in CP 298 and 302 of 2018, seeking to restrain the Department of Telecommunication from terminating the license and revoking the spectrum. The Honorable National Company Law Tribunal has ordered DOT to maintain a status quo and not take any coercive action. That is very important. The DOT has filed affidavits rejecting the avertments of ASL and has submitted that the spectrum and license are liable to be revoked, terminated on failure to make payments. The matter is sub judice now. In respect of a spectrum assigned to Reliance group of companies, legal action, opinion are being examined. And third part of the answer is the outcome of CIRP legal process will determine the financial implications for the government in respect of these companies. In case of unused spectrum, the revenue share of government accruing from spectrum usage charges and license fees is reduced. So, next question pertains to Ministry of Communications, Kriti, and the question has been asked by Jose K. Money. He is asking whether there is widespread complaint from video callers that their video calls freeze and drop so often due to poor fiber connectivity and low intra-city fiber infrastructure across the country. It is very important and related to almost everyone who is using the mobile phones. What is the answer?
Well, absolutely, Akhilesh, I second you on that. This is a very important answer for all the mobile users, and the government has also given a very comprehensive reply. And the government goes on to say that in mobile networks, data speed is required for video calls, which are possible only in 3G and 4G networks. As on 1st of June 2019, there are 5,25,007 numbers of 2G based transceiver stations, 3,57,805 numbers of 3G, and 12,62,841 numbers of 4G based transceivers in the country. Various telecom service providers fiberize their network-specific tower sites. As per the details provided by telecom service providers, about 31% of TSP sites have been connected to fiber network in the country. The infrastructure and equipment used for providing mobile communications belong to various telecom service providers, and the decisions regarding providing connectivity to the TSP sites through fiber or through other means is taken on various decisions which are techno-commercial considerations, including network capacity required at a particular physical fiber site. And as per the details provided by TSP's, total number of 2,19,949 TSP sites out of 7,06,948 TSP sites have already been fiberized. TRAI has issued the standards for quality of service for basic wireline and cellular mobile telephone services, 5th Amendment Regulations 2017, effective from 1st of October 2017. However, there is no separate category for video call drop complaints. Data for fiberization of mobile towers for other countries is not maintained by the government. However, the National Digital Communications Policy announced by the Department of Telecommunications aims at implementation of a fiber-first initiative to take fiber to the home. Industry associations have provided various suggestions and proposed solutions, facilitating fiber to the tower program to enable fiberization at least 60% of telecom towers, thereby accelerating the migration of 4G, 5G services. The government further says that under BharatNet, which is one of the biggest rural telecom projects of the world, a total of 1,28,000 870 gram panchayats have been connected by optical fiber cable by laying 3,37,515 kilometers of OFC as on 13th of June 2019. So that was a very detailed answer given by the government, and now let's move on to the next question, which has been asked by member Mahesh Podar, and this pertains to the Ministry of Human Resource Development. And Mr. Podar has asked whether it is a fact that large part of rural areas of the country are not aware about implementation of Right to Education Act 2009.
Yes, Kriti, it is like asking a puzzle to the government, but the government is quite aware, and government says, no sir. Section 8 of the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009 mandates the appropriate government to provide free and compulsory elementary education to every child of the age 6 to 14 years in a neighborhood school. As defined in Section 2A of the RTE Act 2009, the central government is the appropriate government only in relation to a school established, owned or controlled by the central government or the union territory, having no legislature. In other cases, state and UT governments are the appropriate governments in relation to a school established within the territory of a state or a UT having legislature respectively. Also, Section 10 of the RTE Act 2009 stipulates the duty of every parent or guardian to admit or cause to be admitted his or her child or ward, as the case may be, to an elementary education in the neighborhood school. In order to provide free and compulsory elementary education, 97.15% habitations including rural areas are served by primary schools within a radius of 1 kilometer, and 96.49 habitations including rural areas are served by upper primary schools within a radius of 3 kilometers, as per information provided by states and UTs in 2018-19. The remaining 3% habitations are largely remote and sparsely populated, which do not qualify for opening of schools as per neighborhood norms and are covered through residential schools, hostels and transport and escort facility as per provisions of the RTE Act 2009.
Let's move on to the next question of this edition, which is also the last question of today's edition of Question Hour, and this one has been asked by member Satyanarayan Jatia, and this one also pertains to the Ministry of Human Resource Development. And Mr. Jatia has asked about the details of improvement in education levels, provisions for compulsory education and share of higher education in education and funds allocated for the purpose at various levels for general public for the financial year 2019-20.
The ministry has given very precise answer to this question, Kriti. The ministry says Unified District Information System of Education and All India Survey on Higher Education available on websites reveal that the number of students in schools and higher education institutes, as well as the number of schools and institute of higher education, have increased significantly. So both the number of institutes and the number of students have increased. An integrated scheme, Samagra Shiksha, has been launched by Department of School Education and Literacy. It ensures the provisioning of quality education and enhancing learning of students, bridging social and gender gaps in school education, ensuring quality and inclusion at all levels of school education, ensuring minimum standards in schooling, promoting vocationalization of education, supporting states and UTs in implementation of rights of children to free and compulsory education, Act 2009, and also the right of children to free and compulsory education, Act 2009, provides for free and compulsory education to every child of 6 to 14 years in a neighborhood school till completion of elementary education in all states and UTs except Jammu and Kashmir. In the financial year 2019-20, the total budget allocation for Department of School Education and Literacy and Department of Higher Education is 56,536.63 crore and rupees 38,317.01 crore respectively.
Well, that was another exhaustive answer given by the government to the question pertaining to the Ministry of Human Resource Development. But that's all we had in this edition of Question Hour. But on the other side, we'll have Prashn Kal with our colleague Kriti Singh and Arvind Singh. Stay tuned.